So let me get this straight. You thought it was a good idea to run off into the forest and chase an angry black woman carrying a sword after she just got through playing Pictionary with zombie bodies? This episode of The Walking Dead was filled with a number of oh wows and show me something, and a couple of I don't really give a shits. This episode of The Walking Dead starts off with Merle and his makeshift posse of expendables, and no, I'm not talking about Jason Statham expendables, I'm talking about they die and no one really cares expendables. And they're in the forest looking for Michonne, and then out of nowhere, Michonne jumps up and razorbacks two of the guys. Is it me or does Merle have the worst trigger discipline of his generation? There's not a scene where he carries a gun and doesn't have his finger on the trigger. Now, at the end of the last episode where Rick hears the phone ring, I was almost certain that this phone was going to become a problem. And sure enough, I was right. Now Rick's in the basement on the phone with Miss Deep Throat, trying to convince her to tell him where she is, but she's not giving up any information. There was something about this scene that felt like Lost all over again. You remember when they were in that little Dharma Initiative dungeon and then they had to watch the clock count down, and every time they watched the clock count down, they had to put in some secret code or the world was going to get sucked up by some magnetic force field or something? Anyway, it's obvious that at this point Rick has completely lost his mind, but somewhere between him losing his mind and complete madness, he found time to take a shower and shave and find some new clothes. Now, back at the compound, the thirst is real because the governor is jonesing for Andrea something kind of bad. And it's so blatantly obvious and so annoying at the same time. It's kind of like, okay, get on with it. We know where this is going. Now, going back to the prison, Rick is still waiting by the phone like Selena Gomez waiting for Justin Bieber to call. The only difference is this time when he picks up the phone, it isn't Miss Lady Deep Throat. It's the Pope. Like, seriously, what's with the confessional in this scene? So you mean to tell me you've been randomly dialing numbers for years during a zombie apocalypse and no one's answered? And finally, when someone does answer, your main concern is Lori? Yeah, how about we keep our priorities straight? In the next scene, we get a YouTube gun community cameo appearance by none other than Fate of Destiny. She's so gonna kick my ass for that one. So back at the compound, Andrea's doing wall duty with Fate of Destiny, who's actually kind of a cutie but full of shit. A walker shows up and she can't hit the walker to save her life after all that shit talking she did prior to the walker showing up. So Andrea decides to go all Laura Croft, jumps over the wall, stabs the zombie to death, and shows her how it's done. Apparently Fate of Destiny doesn't like being shown up because she got a little teed off. She's really going to kick my ass for this. Oh, and another thing, can we stop with the whole, oh, I killed my family member after they turned nonsense? If your family member already turned into a zombie and then you killed them, it doesn't count. That's not a kill. You didn't kill them. They were already dead. So let's stop trying to garner sympathy because you killed your zombie sister. Doesn't count. Now going back to the prison, Rick is still doing his Selena Gomez impression when Herschel decides to come down and visit him. It's at this point where Rick tells Herschel about the ringing phone. So Herschel picks up the phone and checks for a dial tone, kind of looks at Rick and doesn't say anything. But the look on Herschel's face after he picks up the phone and checks for a dial tone tells you everything you need to know about Rick. He's fucking lost it because he's not talking to anyone. Nonetheless, Herschel offers to wait with Rick by the phone and wait for it to ring again, but Rick refuses. By the look on his face, you can tell that Herschel's pissed that Rick doesn't want him to stay down there with him. Kind of like, so you're just going to be an asshole and make me limp my way back up those stairs after it took me 30 minutes to get down them to begin with? Rick, you're a hoe for that. Now we're back in the forest with Merle and one of the Jonas brothers while they're looking for Michonne. And Michonne, like the long-lost love child of Blade that she is, jumps out of nowhere again and starts fighting with Merle, right up to the point where they're completely overtaken by a few zombies and she has an opportunity to escape. So in this scene, Daryl, the new T-Dog, and bitch-ass Carl are searching through the prison. I really like this scene because Daryl's trying to give Carl this uplifting story about how he lost his mother and found out that his mother died one day when she was smoking in the house and burned herself to a crisp, and how it didn't feel real. And one of the moments where I actually like Carl, he kind of looks at Daryl and is like, you found your mother dead. I shot mine. Want to try again? Cutscene, and now we're back in the forest with Merle and the Jonas brother, and they're arguing about whether or not to lie to the governor. Merle wants to lie to the governor. The Jonas brother doesn't. Are we really surprised? Now listen up, kiddos. Here's a little advice. When a man who has a bayonet for a prosthetic limb squares up to you, looks you in the face, and asks you what your name is again, do yourself a favor. Run. And of course, Merle kills the Jonas brother. Now we go back to the prison and we're back with Madman Rick and his imaginary phone. At this point, the phone is kind of almost like Stewie from Family Guy. Do they know what he's saying? Can they understand him? Or are they just ignoring him? Or they can't understand him? It's kind of like, it's still kind of ambiguous as to whether or not Rick is talking to someone. Is the phone real? Is the phone fake? But my guess is Rick has completely lost his mind and he's not talking to anyone. Now we're back with the thirsty governor and Andrea. And this scene pissed me off simply because they're sitting in a meditation garden in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. I don't know why, I can't explain it, but it just makes me mad. But I will say this, we do learn something about Andrea in this particular scene. You see, before it seemed like Andrea wanted to stay because she was tired of running. She was tired of dealing with zombies. She wanted food, she wanted shelter, she wanted some type of comfort, she wanted safety, consistency. But at the end of the day, we really realized her true motivation. She wanted penis. Because apparently running around with Michonne just wasn't cutting it. The governor is laying it on thick like a senior at freshman orientation. Now, the meditation garden scene is the only scene that pissed me off. This next scene with Glenn and Maggie also pissed me off. Because you see, Glenn and Maggie are true operators when it comes to killing zombies. But when it comes to dealing with human threats, they're completely useless. Which explains why people are so fascinated and fantasize about a zombie apocalypse. There's no guilt when you kill a zombie like you do when you have to kill a human being. It's easy and it's guilt-free. That's why people fantasize about it. Let's be honest. You either shoot them from a distance or you run up on them really quickly and stab them. It's not like the zombies are taking up zombie combat tactics to spread the infection. And even if you do get outflanked by zombies, it was by pure accident or some stupidity on your part. Because zombies are like tigers at a zoo. Yeah, tigers are scary, but when they're behind the fence, they're not that scary. But let a pit bull come around the corner without a leash and an owner, and things change up really quickly. Now, cutscene and going back to the prison, we're back with Rick and his magical phone. And I can't get over the fact that this scene and the repeated scenes of Rick and this magical phone feel like Lost all over again. The look, the feel, everything to me about these scenes screams Lost. Man, Lost was a good show. Right up until they destroyed the entire series with that bullshit season finale. Now, in this next scene with Governor and Andrea, I'll be honest, I can't say that Andrea naked isn't enticing. I just hate the fact that it was a 2-for-1 deal that I had to get the governor as well naked. Where's Michonne when you need her? Come on, Carl, seriously, just take off the damn hat. That's all I could think about in this scene when Rick decides to go all Lion King on us and acknowledge Shane's baby. At the same time, Daryl confronts the idea that Carol may actually be dead, only to realize that she was right in front of him the entire time. Now, I really like the scene because it really demonstrates how much Daryl cares about Carol, especially showing how much their relationship has progressed from the time where he helped her look for her daughter to where we are now. And this last scene in this episode really had me speechless. I really didn't see this coming. But I will say this, though. I am really happy about the idea of having Michonne being part of the group now. Now let's go get Maggie and Glenn and Andrea back from the zombie apocalypse Scientology compound so we can go toe-to-toe with the compound and really have a good series. That is, my friend, the end of Season 3, Episode 6 of The Walking Dead, and I'm MRCOLIONNOIR, and I'm out.